welcome back to the channel. My name is InsideAgameR. Welcome back to my tutorial series here on X-Plane 11. Today we're going to be looking at the cold dark startup of the DHC6 Twin Otter 300 series version 2 by RWDesigns. This is available on the plane.org store. And basically we have this in our Simply Connect VA. If any of you want to learn anything more about that, there's a link in the description down below. We do have our own channel, Virtual Airways. If you want to come fly with us, you are more than welcome. And basically there's a few pilots that want to pick this up, but they don't really know how to fly it. It's a bit more kind of old school. So what we're going to look at is kind of a cold dark startup, how to get the plane moving. We'll get to the taxiway probably on this episode, and then on the second episode I'm going to show you the autopilot features in the air plus the landing. So we're going to set up a short flight where we are today in EGNS, which is the Isle of Man, which is one of our company routes, and we're going to fly this to EGAA over in Belfast. Okay, so if we just take a little look on the outside of the aircraft, it's a lovely little aircraft, twin prop. I really actually enjoy flying this aircraft. Now it does land a little bit funny. You feel very high in the seat, but you do get used to it very, very quickly. Obviously this is in our Simply Connect livery. Beautiful little plane actually, really enjoy flying this plane. Okay, so when we're going to come in here, there's a few different areas that we need to look at. You know, obviously all the controls, we got up above here for your lights, and all the other kind of throttles and props and stuff are down here. Now I just want to point out that I'm not a real world pilot. I play these games for fun. These simulators have been simulating for quite a while. This cold and dark stuff might not be the exact real life that you would need, but this would show you a general idea on how to get this plane moving. So before the haters start hating, you know, I'm not a professional by any means. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is look down below here, and you're going to remove the steering lock. So now once we've removed it, we now have free movement of the old stick. Now the other part of this aircraft that you need to look at is this book. This is a very important book. So you'd have your flashlight on here in case, you know, if you're at night time, that's how you'd get some light going. You can open the doors, which we'll have a look on the outside. You can put in external power if you wish. If we just do a quick little nose to the outside, you can see that the rear door has now opened, and you got a nice little power box down here if you wish to have ground power. Now you do not need ground power to get this going, that's for sure. Okay, we're going to turn them off for a second, and we're going to go back into the driver's seat. Doors are able to open, as you can see now. And you can come look into the back of the plane here. It is, like I said, it is looking pretty good. You can turn on the lights and stuff for the passengers. These all light up. It's all looking really, really nice. Now the main thing is, once you're back here, we're going to shut our door. And we're going to look about how do we set this plane up. Now the first thing you can do is look on the checklist, and you can go through everything absolutely proper and do it the proper way. You know, it's a good way to do things, obviously, but I'm not going to be looking at that today. And the other thing that we want to look at is the weight and balance. Okay, so what you first do is get your weight and balance. So you do your sim brief, you see what you're getting, and you've got two options here, payload and fuel. At the moment we currently have 612 kilograms of fuel, and obviously we can change that as we see fit. Now for our flight today, this is definitely more than enough. Now you need to be very careful with this weight and balance. If you get too tail heavy, the plane will just go up in the air, which we'll try and show you here now. If I just fill it up with fuel, you're going to see that the front wheels, you can see that we're rising, and there. We are now on our arse. Okay, so you know, weight and balance on this is really, really important. It's just fixing itself. Oh, okay, sorry, did not like that, did it? A good kind of point to aim for is trying to go any lower than this line, but you know, you can counter everything if you know, put more fuel in the front. Also you'd look at your payload, you know, you can load up the front with cargo, but if you're too front heavy you won't take off. So you really need to find this sweet spot around here, and a good kind of 28-29% is always pretty good. So you know what, we'll load in a little bit of cargo here. And if you want to load passengers in, this is how you load your passengers in. You'll just click on the seats. Again, that's going to change your mass. Now we're tail heavy again, so we're going to counter that with people in the front. Okay, it will counter anyways because we've got some more people sitting at the front here, and fuel. So look, okay, so now we're really, really heavy, but that is fine. Take some of this fuel out. We don't need this much fuel. And again, you know, you'd go off your sim brief, etc. You know, you could take some people out the back here if you wish, take all that out the back. You know, now you can see that we're very front heavy. So, you know, you can play around getting it to how you want it to do for the figures that you need. But yeah, so there you go. That is now a full plane. And that's kind of all we need to do with this book. So at this point now, we can now start looking at power on and batteries. So we've got these two panels here. Now, what's important here is this panel here. We scroll in. Now, some of these you're going to see have arrows, and some of them have these scroll wheels. Now, these will only work if you scroll your wheel. So if you're using external power, obviously you'd have external power on, but for now, we are now going to flick on the battery, and you're going to see things are going to start illuminating. Okay, so with the battery being on, you do want to come down here now and turn on your radio panels. Now, in real world, radio panels probably shouldn't go on until engines have started, etc. Or avionics anyways, but there we go. According to the checklist, it does go on now anyways. And so they will all be kind of getting logged in and doing what they have to do. We go up above, obviously your fuel would be just on cut off at the moment. You get your reversers and whatever. Hard to find a sweet spot because of the stick I'm using, but there we go. And again, we wouldn't need these on full whack right now. Okay, now the one thing that is a bit strange on here is the flaps. You have to hold down the flaps button to get your flaps. It is a little bit different, but we will be a flaps 10 for takeoff, so we'll leave the flaps there, but that's usually what we'll check on the way down. Okay, up above. We've got a few things now that we need to do here. We've got our batteries on. You can now turn on your fasten seatbelts, your smoking signs. You can put you on your position and anti-collision lights if you wish. You would want to scroll up to test your lights. Now this is going to bring up all your caution lights, make sure they all light up. Perfect. Then you need to move this then back down to bright or dim, however way you want to have it. Okay, general engine lights can go on if you wish, and you will now arm emergency lighting at this point as well. And that is again all we need for here for the second. You can also turn on your air conditioning if you want it cool or hot, etc. on automatic. You need to change any lighting. This is how you change your lighting for the panels up here. Again, panels for down below. So everything's all lit up nicely. So what we're going to actually look at first, before we go any further, is the GPS. So we're going to pop this out. Now how I like to fly these kind of planes is direct GPS with an RNAV or an ILS approach. That's generally how I like to fly them, because it's just very easy. There are tutorials on these themselves if you want to see them. I could make some if you let me know in the comments down below if you really want an in-depth tutorial on this. But what I go for is this little marker here, which is direct, and you need to come down to the scroll wheel. You can see we've got an outer and an inner. So the inner is going to change. So we want E, and if you go to the outer, you need to now scroll to make sure you get your next letter. Then again, you need to move back in. We're looking for G, again A. Belfast, Aldergrove. That is exactly what we're looking for. And we want to activate this. So we're going to press enter, and it's going to say activate. Done. We will now have a direct line to Belfast, Aldergrove. Okay, EGAA. Now when you take off out of here, you can get clearance from your ATC. Usually I generally use pilot to ATC, but for this tutorial's sake there will be no ATC. A lot of people on X-Plane don't use any ATC, but say even if you're using VATSIM, they'd give you your takeoff instructions for what runway, etc. But we'll just be going to follow this line. So we'll be flying nav. Now to make sure that the navigation, now the GPS is this unit here. This is your GPS. Heading, nav, approach, alt, IAS, and BC. Now how you engage it is with this little switch here. That's engaging your autopilot, that's disengaging autopilot. Okay, now what we need to do is change the CDI to GPS. Now that will now follow this navigation marker. Okay, that is exactly what we want. Now we can hit program, and I like to now select my approach. Now we're going to go into ILS 17, say, so we're just going to go down to our small wheel and we're going to scroll down to ILS 17. I haven't checked any charts what is the most appropriate, so we're just going to go on this one. And it's going to ask me, do I want vectors or use the transition here? And you know what, we'll just use this transition. Now it's very important here that we hit load. If you activate it, it's going to be no good right now. We just want to load this in. So if we scroll out, again, you're going to see that our approach is now in here. Once you get a bit closer, you'll be able to see a little bit clearer. Okay, so that is our flight plan done. It's very simple. Don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. That's what we're going to follow, okay? Now if we move across over to this side, now how the altitude hold works. Now some people think it's this, you know, set your altitude. It is not this. Now we are going to set it to 8,000, but this is just an alarm. You turn on your alarm alert here. Now this will tell you once you get up to 8,000, it will just beep at you. We'll look at that on the next episode when we talk about it. What you need to do is come down to this one here, okay? And you can see here you got your different markers. So that would be 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. So that would be now holding our altitude at 8,000 feet. The ceiling for this aircraft is 25,000. You don't obviously want to go any higher than that, well, you can't go any higher than that. We don't have any oxygen stuff on board. There's nothing here that I can see that gives us a way to do any of that stuff anyways. Okay. Now coming across here, we're going to want to turn on our fuel boosts. Now, for some reason, these will have to stay on for the whole flight. Okay. I don't know if it's real or not in the real world, but these will have to stay on. Also in the real world, the Twin Otter should only taxi on one engine. Unfortunately, I've tried doing it many times. It just doesn't work with the flight modeling that they got in place. It seems to spin around in circles and I can't control it, so we will taxi with two, but in real life, they are known to taxi with one engine. But there you go. Fuel boost is now on. Okay. So we're pretty much ready to start engines at this point. You know, you've got your light on, you got your position, your anti-collision lights on, that's all good. You've put your emergency lighting on. You'd be asking now for your taxis, etc. Once you get your clearance. Now, what you need to do is come over to here. And you're going to turn both engine igniters on. And then you can start right or left first. I don't think there is a certain order, so we'll just start with our left engine. Obviously, you would do this once you've been pushed back. Okay. And obviously, it's handy if you had the fuel on. So that's how we do start the engines. But like I said, we'll do that at pushback. Okay, with everything else now in place, we are pretty much actually ready just to do that anyways. We probably should have just done that. If we get our cameras correct, we'll now go to our plugins. Let's get our better pushback, and we'll start.
Ground to cockpit. Please show me where you want to go. Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Okay, so we're now getting our tow. So we will just put on the left fuel, and we're just going to bring the feather up a little bit. And you want to bring in your throttle just a little bit as well, just to get it going. Again, both igniters are on, and we're just literally going to start engine once the pushback car is ready to go.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect. Winching strap and adapter in position. Release parking brake when ready to start pushback.
Okay, so the parking brake is just here between our legs.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Okay, so now we got our pushback. Just as before, we've now ignited the left engine. You can see it's now kicking in. So all we've done was make sure fuel is on. We put a feather forward, and the thrust is just up a little bit off the idle. And we've clicked left to start the left engine, as obviously the igniters are already on. And we're going to just watch this. This is all going to kind of jump up. It usually jumps up pretty high, which we're going to see on engine 2. So if we now go engine 2, you're going to see all of these things jump. Don't panic that they go into the red. This is very normal. It will settle back down onto the green, which is what you want. Again, there we go. So in real life, I know they do taxi on 1. For some reason, I just can't get it to taxi on 1. I don't know if it's just me. possibly is. Give it a go if you wish. Like I said, this is a brilliant little aircraft. We do enjoy it for the company. Obviously, if you do come join Simply Connect, how we have it is that you do have to do GA flying the first 10 hours before you get to move up to the
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
bigger aircraft. So it's kind of nice to learn all these aircraft, really.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Okay, while he's doing that, so if you had a squawk, you'd start putting in your squawk code, which is down here. You know, you tap it up and down depending on what ATC give you if you are using any ATC. Obviously, you'd have it on ground if you're on the ground. But once you get in the air, you'll change it to Alt. Everything else is looking good. Systems are looking good. We have set our altitude to 8,000. We have our navigation set to GPS ready to go. You're going to see here we got a couple of generator lights because we are missing something
Tow
now.
is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Yep, I was just waiting for him to go because I didn't want him to talk over this. So next thing you now need to do is add your bleed airs, the left and right, and you're going to also reset your generators. Just click on reset. They should flick back to the middle. If they don't, just flick them back up. If you come down here, you now have all your lights cleared. So once engines have started, you add the bleed air. Okay, once engines have started. Again here, obviously we're going to taxi now, so we can put our taxi lights on. You may decide to put your de-icer on automatic, depending on what your conditions are outside. Strobe light is here. Now, depends how you want to do the strobe. For us, strobe lights don't go on until you're on the runway. But some people turn it on now. But everything else is pretty much on and ready to go. The ice is on automatic. Like I said, we can change that if we needed to. Okay guys, good to taxi. Take off the parking brake, and we're going to keep the feather quite low. By keeping the feather low, we keep our speed quite low. Now this is a bit of a tricky one to handle. I find that the speeds can be a little bit funny. And again, now we will go taxi to our runway of choice. Like I said, we didn't get any particular clearance for any particular one, so we can just take any taxi route that we're going to want to take here. Obviously, you'd follow your airport charts, etc. Now, it can be a pretty quick, this plane, so we do have to just keep an eye on the speeds. You don't be taxiing too fast. She does pick up speed pretty quickly. You don't need a whole runway. You could probably do a midfield departure if you wished with this aircraft. As you can see, we could turn down here. That's probably what we're going to do today. We're going to take this smaller runway here, 2-1. And we are going to turn around and circle. Okay, sorry about the noise. This is the reverse thrust on my joystick. Okay, so we're going to set our parking brake here. I'm going to just turn these down for a second. Okay, so all we're going to do here now is you'd start configuring for your takeoff. Again, up above, we'd make sure our flaps are set, which we got set to around 10. Perfect. You're now going to turn your taxi lights off, and you're going to come down to your next box down here, and you're going to turn your landing lights on. Now if you flick one, it flicks two. There we go. And the engine igniters can go off as well. Now on the opposite side here, you got the windshield for your wipers. They don't seem to be functioning currently with this. No. There you go. Something new for me as well. Wasn't sure if they did or not. And so basically we're good to go here at this point. We know once we take off, we're going to go start following around our pink line. We will engage the autopilot at some point, but we can nearly hand fly this ourselves as well. It is completely up to us how we do this. Everything else is pretty much set here. Landing lights are set. The only other light now you would also set now is your strobe. Now the one thing with the strobe light, it flicks up. These all flick down, it flicks up. That's the only thing you got to remember. So strobe lights are now on. We are good for takeoff, but we are going to leave the episode there. So the next episode, we're going to look at the takeoff. We're going to look at how to engage the autopilot, and then we're going to be looking at a RNAV or ILS approach into EGAA. So that's what we're going to be looking at. We'll probably do an RNAV. I can't remember which one I just clicked on at the beginning. Whichever one it was, we'll do both. I'll show you how to use them both, and I'll show you how to use the autopilot features. Look, hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you guys will hang around and see episode 2. If any of you want to come join the VA, you're more than welcome. I said links in the description down below. Hit the like button. Come join us on the Discord. Come hang out there. And other than that, myself, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.